So, the Supreme Court just dropped the nuclear option on Trump's entire business empire. This is not a metaphor. This is not an exaggeration. This is the most extreme corporate punishment imaginable under American law. They've literally ordered the corporate death penalty for the Trump Organization. That's right. The highest court in the land has decided that Trump's company is so fundamentally corrupt that it needs to be completely dissolved. This is the kind of ruling that rarely happens, the kind that sends shockwaves not just through politics, but through the entire business world. Warren Buffett, who's been notably silent on Trump for years, just broke that silence with a bombshell response that's sending shockwaves through Wall Street. Investors, CEOs, and financial institutions are all paying attention. It's honestly hard to believe they actually went this far. We're not talking about fines or restrictions here. We're talking about the complete dismantling of a multi-billion-dollar business empire that's been around for decades. This isn't just about Trump losing some buildings or paying penalties. We're looking at the systematic destruction of everything he's built, everything his father built, the whole Trump Organization getting wiped off the map. Entire portfolios, licensing deals, brand value, and corporate structures are being erased. And trust me, what Buffett just said about this is going to change everything about how corporate America views Trump going forward. Let me fill you in on what's been happening because this story is absolutely wild. So Donald Trump has been fighting legal battles over his business practices for years now. Ever since that New York fraud case started back in 2022, he's been insisting it was all a witch hunt, all political persecution. His lawyers kept saying the charges were bogus, that valuations are subjective, that no banks were harmed. Trump himself kept posting on Truth Social about how his company was the greatest, most honest business in America. Whether it was the civil fraud trial, the criminal cases, or the various investigations, Trump really cemented himself as the victim of what he called lawfare. He kept saying Democrats were just trying to destroy him because they couldn't beat him politically. His base ate it up, and even some moderate Republicans started questioning whether all these prosecutions were really about justice or just politics. But here's where the rubber meets the road. We're now looking at the most severe corporate punishment in American history. The Supreme Court, with its conservative majority that Trump himself helped create, just ruled that the Trump Organization engaged in such systematic, deliberate, and egregious fraud that the only remedy is complete dissolution. Chief Justice Roberts himself wrote the opinion, and the language he used was absolutely devastating. This mess is unfolding because multiple courts found that Trump's company wasn't just bending the rules. They were operating as what the court called a criminal enterprise, masquerading as a legitimate business. Property valuations inflated by 2,000%. Financial statements that changed depending on who was reading them. Loan applications with completely fabricated numbers. And guess who's stuck right in the middle? Every single Trump-branded property, every golf course, every hotel, every licensing deal. Donald Trump is supposed to be this brilliant businessman, this master deal maker. But here's the kicker. His own appointed justices on the Supreme Court just signed his corporate death warrant. They want complete liquidation within 180 days. And before we go any further, let's be real for a second. This isn't some minor accounting dispute or typical business controversy. This is the Supreme Court saying a former president's company is too corrupt to exist. That's never happened before in American history. Now back to the matter at hand. Reports from around October 28th revealed just how furious Trump was when he got word of the Supreme Court's decision. This wasn't quiet frustration. This was rage. He labeled Roberts' opinion as treasonous and even went as far as to say the Chief Justice had betrayed America and the Constitution. Talk about strong words. Essentially, Trump was calling Roberts a traitor for not protecting him from the consequences of his own actions. And this wasn't a private conversation. Trump made sure to air his grievances publicly on Truth Social, making it clear that he expected the conservative justices he appointed to shield him from accountability. This announcement sent shockwaves through the Republican Party because it raised all sorts of questions. If Trump, The party's de facto leader could see his entire business empire destroyed by the Supreme Court. What did that mean for everyone else who'd tied themselves to him? Now, this isn't the first time we've seen Trump turn on people who were supposed to be his allies. Trump's loyalty really only extends to himself. Whenever someone stops being useful or does something he doesn't like, he's quick to turn on them. We've spotted this pattern time and time again. Just think about how he turned on Jeff Sessions right after Sessions recused himself from the Russia investigation. Sessions was the first senator to endorse Trump, stuck his neck out when nobody else would, and Trump destroyed him publicly for following basic legal ethics. Then there was Bill Barr, Trump's hand-picked attorney general, who protected him through Mueller, through impeachment, through everything. But when Barr wouldn't go along with the stolen election claims, Trump turned on him instantly, calling him weak and cowardly. And let's not forget Mike Pence, the most loyal vice president you could imagine, defending Trump for 4 straight years. But when Pence wouldn't overturn the election on January 6th, Trump sent a mob after him, chanting, "Hang Mike Pence." Even Kevin McCarthy faced Trump's wrath. After initially criticizing Trump for January 6th, McCarthy went down to Mar-a-Lago to kiss the ring. But that wasn't enough. Trump still undermined him and helped get him ousted as Speaker. This pattern is becoming all too familiar. You can show all the loyalty in the world and defend Trump every single day, but the moment you step out of line or cease to be useful, he'll toss you aside without a second thought. So, what did the Supreme Court do to tick off Trump? Well, it all boils down to following the law instead of protecting him. The case came to the Supreme Court after New York's highest court upheld the dissolution order. Trump's lawyers wanted the Supreme Court to intervene to find some constitutional issue to save his company. As the highest court in the land, the Supreme Court had to decide whether the lower courts had properly applied the law. Trump's team argued this was excessive punishment, that dissolution was too extreme, that it violated his constitutional rights. His approach seemed to be banking on the conservative majority he'd helped create. At first, it looked like Trump might have reason for hope. After all, this Supreme Court had given him some wins before. They'd ruled in his favor on presidential immunity questions. They'd slow-walked cases that could hurt him politically. But here's where things started to go wrong. As the court dug into the actual evidence from the fraud trial, some serious issues started cropping up. Financial statements showing Trump's penthouse at 30,000 square feet when it was really 11,000, claiming properties were worth 10 times their assessed value, creating entirely different financial statements for loans versus insurance versus tax filings.